you think about during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were there with me the whole
Mhm.
time, and I was one of the first,
Mhm.
like talking shit. Like I'm reading these papers.
Yes.
What they're saying on TV is not what the papers say. They're
Right.
not asking the questions in these papers, by the
No,
way, that they should be asking.
No.
And there's a whole group of great scientists over here that are saying something completely different, and they're being shut out.
Mm.
Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
And, you saw it throughout,
Yes.
man. And this is where I think critical thinking took a big turn. I'll give you one example. The question that I asked as it was happening, and I did not support Trump. I
Mhm.
thought, if you remember, all through Trump's presidency,
Mhm.
I said, there's no way they're going to let this guy stay president. Something's going to happen. They're going to,
Right.
last year, something's going to blow everything up.
Yeah.
It's like, there's
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
He's causing too
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
divide. And so in January of 2020, I was like, oh, I guess I was wrong. Looks like they're not going to crash this economy or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
March, COVID comes out. And I asked the question, what are the odds that the most divisive president in our
Mhm.
lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
who is going after the powers that be, I mean, whether you agree with them or not,
Mm-hmm.
the people that he's against are the people that I'm against.
Right,
That's what I'm saying. I don't agree exactly how he does things, but I'm
Right.
like, okay, those that are pulling the strings, those that were upset when Edward Snowden released the NSA documents, those that wanted to put him in jail, those that were going after Julian Assange, those are the enemy
Mm-hmm.
to me.
Right.
The big pharma, truly,
Right.
that's the enemy to me.
Right. Right.
And so he is going after them.
He
And he
is.
caused zero wars. I was an anti-war activist back in the day. No wars, dude.
Right.
And so when you look at that, who was the last person to cause that much problem? His talk aside, JFK.
Right.
And he was assassinated.
Yeah.
And so the idea that we get a virus out of the blue that
Mhm.
at first they said came from bats.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
if you were to say that it came from a lab in China, you were racist.
Yep.
So they first used that.
Yep.
And then the virus turns out to be coming from a lab in China, which they still won't fully admit, even though they
Right.
pretty much admit it.
Right.
And the country gets locked down with something that in April of 2020, I predicted a 0.023 overall death rate for COVID.
Okay.
It's about that.
Wow.
How did I know that in 2020? I did the fucking math, man.
Right.
I divided the people
Yeah.
by weight, by age, and came up with an assumption.
Yeah.
But it
It's
was
a conceptual number that's
it was
based
so
on
close, much closer than everybody else's that was public.
Mhm.
Why is that? Critical thinking. Like, let's
Right.
dig into the numbers.
Right.
What does this say? What do these other scientists over here say?
Right.
How deadly is this really? What age groups is it killing?
Right.
What are the pre-existing conditions that
Right.
make someone more susceptible to a severe reaction? And just by asking those questions, I was sent messages. You just want people to die. You don't. I'm like, actually the opposite.
Right.
I want people to live.
Right.
What are the unintended consequences that are going to happen from shutting everything down? You see the all-cause mortality going up and up and up. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
Addictions going through the roof. Why is that?
Child abuse.
Yeah.
Suicide. We all knew this was going to happen as soon as
Well, we did.
Yeah.
Society. Listen, we knew this was going to happen.
Yep.
The average person, when I brought it up, attacked me.
Yep. I remember that.
So where is the critical thinking? So I say all that, Dedrick, because I believe if we can get people to actually think again, make thinking a
Great
thing
again. Make thinking great again.
Yeah. Make thinking great again. I think we can go a long way, but people are so programmed, really, really smart people are so programmed to think in their way.
Right.
If you were to say during COVID, you're doing your own research, that was always praised in the past.
Right.
But they're like, don't do your
You're
own
doing
research.
your own research.
What are your thoughts on, those ideas and what we saw?
So the big thing that I saw with COVID was how fear, if introduced to the masses. So we just had this whole talk about how, critical thinking, but there's like an accelerant
Mm.
to a lack of critical thinking, and it's fear. Okay? Fear makes people even less likely because there's an urgency to the situation. It's a pandemic. There's lockdowns, there's masks, there's show me your papers. There's all of this stuff is going on. People now have another excuse to not read. They have another excuse to not think. And I don't think it's entirely all just, oh, I'm not going to, I'm not a critical thinker because I'm anti-critical thinking. Some people don't have the tools. They're not being encouraged to be critical thinkers. Already before COVID, it already wasn't trending in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I was not very optimistic that if the government released anything about COVID that was not, or that could be considered debatable, I was not optimistic on how that would be received by the public because of the erosion of critical thinking and the fear. You compound fear, then you start threatening people's wages and lifestyles. There's a coercive effect to how certain messages can be put out there, right? When I am being told that I must behave this way or I'm going to lose my job, my source of income, and the cascading effect of losing my house and probably my family. No, I'm not going to critically think about this shit. I was just told I'm going to lose everything if I do.
Right.
Right? So has someone or something that has that much power and control over you is really, really challenging, because we can sit here and we are fortunate enough to not be in that situation, where, okay, I can just not agree with this shit. Like, nobody's going to take my other job, right? Nobody's going to take that away from me. But so many people allow themselves to be in that situation. And what I've seen since COVID is for those people who, they may have walked back certain claims. The government may have walked back certain claims that they purported to be true at that time, in that moment. I don't see that there really being a lot of growth in preparation for if something like that were to happen again.
Sure.
So that you wouldn't be such at the whim or the mercy of those people who are making those edicts. I want people to be free to make decisions, not completely unencumbered by their financial circumstance, to think about it without having their livelihoods questioned if that's within reason. And I just saw over COVID, like, I had to learn how to respect other people's right to be afraid, even if I believe their fear is complete bullshit. I had to just respect that you are afraid, and be a friend and a confidant, a brother to people who are afraid of something that maybe they shouldn't be as afraid of.
Right.
And I need to be supportive of them, even though I know that this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And in the moment, that's what they need.
Right.
Right. They don't need me telling them why this isn't, you know what I'm saying? That's
absolutely.
And that took a lot for me to be present there for people. Like, okay, you're scared of this. You probably shouldn't be. You're young. You're healthy. You don't go anywhere anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I just got to be there for you. So it helped me in that regard, like, empathize with irrationality.
Yes.
Like, you are completely thinking about this in a way that maybe doesn't make the most sense. You're trusting people who may not have your best interest in mind. And even if they do, they perhaps are aligned with people who are profiting from this whole situation, which calls something into question. But okay, we are here.
Yeah.
All right. How do we get back on track?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't let you be a victim.
Right.
And just be a victim to COVID, because what's that going to do, right? But I have to at least be sensitive to, like, you are afraid. You're legitimately afraid of this.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not.
Right.
but and like, how are we going to do this when society is telling you to look at someone like me as your enemy?
Yes. It's a great
Someone who doesn't have a vaccine. Your society is telling me You've known me your whole life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To that I'm the enemy now? Okay. You know, how do I deal with those
And
situations?
think about that. Society is telling you that I'm the enemy now because I didn't get a vaccine. And we're generally healthy people.
Yeah.
We're definitely doing the research.
Yeah.
And when you say bullshit, this is interesting
Yeah.
because some people will hear bullshit and think that you didn't think COVID was serious.
Right. No.
And it's not
No.
that.
No, not at all.
It's you said afterwards, someone young, healthy.
Yeah.
Well, they generally don't have much to worry about. Does that mean that some people aren't going to get bad outcomes?
course.
Of course.